What drives a person to kill? What lurks inside the mind of history's most dangerous criminals? Are they born evil, or does society shape them into monsters? Today on News Nexus, we take a chilling deep dive into the psychological profiles of the world's most infamous killers, uncovering the twisted logic, dark motives, and shocking truths behind their crimes. Stay tuned, because what you're about to hear will change the way you see the world. Welcome to News Nexus. If you're fascinated by true crime, criminal psychology, and investigative stories, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Let's get started. The psychology of a killer. Before we explore specific cases, let's first understand what goes on inside the mind of a killer. Experts in criminal psychology categorize violent criminals into two main types. First, psychopaths. These individuals lack empathy, show no remorse, and often blend into society undetected. Their crimes are well-planned and calculated. One of the most infamous examples is Ted Bundy. Second, sociopaths. Unlike psychopaths, sociopaths are impulsive, erratic, and often leave behind evidence due to their lack of careful planning. A well-known example is Richard Ramirez, also known as the Night Stalker. Both share a lack of emotional connection, but their behaviors differ drastically. Psychologists have identified some key traits that many serial killers share: a complete lack of empathy, manipulation and deception, a sense of superiority over others, an obsessive need for control, a history of childhood trauma or abuse. Now, let's analyze some of history's worst criminals and uncover what made them tick. The charming but deadly Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was one of the most infamous serial killers in history. He was a master of manipulation. Well-dressed, articulate, and highly intelligent, Bundy shattered the stereotype of a typical murderer. But behind that charming smile lay a twisted, predatory mind. Bundy suffered from extreme narcissism and a complete lack of empathy. His victims were often young women, whom he lured into his car by pretending to need help. He would fake injuries, wear a sling, or act helpless, knowing that his charm would lower his victims' guard. Once they were close enough, he would strike. Psychologists later determined that Bundy displayed traits of narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, also known as psychopathy, a deep-rooted need for control and dominance. Bundy once described his own crimes as a disease like alcoholism, but experts argue that he knew exactly what he was doing. He enjoyed the hunt and the power. The monster with no remorse. Jeffrey Dahmer. Unlike Bundy, who relied on charm, Jeffrey Dahmer operated in the shadows. His crimes were gruesome: murder, dismemberment, and even cannibalism. What truly shocked psychologists was his complete lack of remorse. Dahmer admitted to his crimes with chilling detachment, as if describing an everyday routine. His psychological profile was deeply disturbing. He exhibited borderline personality disorder, necrophilia, and extreme paraphilia. An obsession with total control over his victims. Dahmer once said, "I didn't want them to leave." His desire to keep his victims close led him to commit unimaginable acts. Experts believe that Dahmer's childhood loneliness and abandonment issues played a role in his psyche. He had an intense fear of losing control, and his way of handling it was to make sure his victims could never leave him. The Night Stalker. Richard Ramirez. Unlike Bundy or Dahmer, Richard Ramirez had no specific victim type. He attacked men, women, and even children. He was a satanic worshiper, a home invader, and a brutal murderer. He struck fear into the hearts of people across Los Angeles, breaking into homes in the dead of night and showing no mercy to his victims. His psychological breakdown revealed a history of severe childhood abuse and trauma. Antisocial personality disorder. A complete lack of impulse control. Ramirez believed he was acting under the influence of Satan himself. His violent childhood, exposed to gruesome crime and abuse, played a huge role in shaping his monstrous behavior. His case became one of the most high-profile in history, and when he was finally caught, he showed no regret. Instead, he smiled for cameras and embraced his infamy. Are serial killers born or made? The age-old debate. Are killers born with a predisposition for violence, or does society shape them into monsters? Biological factors play a role. Studies show that many violent criminals have abnormalities in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for impulse control and decision-making. This suggests that some individuals may be born with a predisposition to violence. But environmental factors cannot be ignored. Childhood abuse, neglect, and traumatic experiences are commonly found in the histories of violent criminals. A person might be born with certain traits, but their environment can either suppress or amplify them. This raises a chilling question. How many potential killers are walking among us, just waiting for the right conditions to trigger their violent tendencies? How to spot red flags and protect yourself. While serial killers are rare, violent individuals exist everywhere. Here are some key red flags to look out for. Extreme cruelty to animals, which is often an early warning sign in childhood. Manipulative or deceitful behavior, especially with no remorse. A lack of empathy for others. An obsession with power and control. Awareness is the best defense. Trust your instincts. If something feels off about someone's behavior, don't ignore it. Final thoughts and call to action. Serial killers may be the darkest reflection of society, but understanding them helps us prevent future tragedies. What do you think? Are killers born evil, or does their environment create them? Let us know in the comments. If you found this deep dive into criminal psychology fascinating, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to News Nexus for more gripping investigative stories. Until next time, stay safe.